Suppose you want to call your friend on the phone, but you don't know their number. What would you do? Well, probably you'll look up their name in a phone book or on social media or something, find their number, and call it. This is similar to how the internet works. When computer A wants to load a website from computer B, but it only knows the domain name, like the name of computer B, but not its IP address, like the phone number, computer A has to ask a third server, similar to the phone book, what the IP associated with the domain name is. Then, computer A can send an HTTP request to computer B. The third computer is called a DNS server, and it is at the core of an ongoing debate about internet regulation. Back in the old days of the internet, when it was still just ARPANET, every address was stored in a hosts.txt file, which was maintained by the Stanford Research Institute. To connect to a server, a client would have to look up their address in the file before connecting. The people at SRI would update this file a few times per week. Obviously, the system didn't scale well with such a rapidly expanding internet. And so, in 1983, a man named Paul Makapetris designed the domain name system, which paved the way for a globalized internet. Fast forward to 2005, in National Cable and Telecommunications Association et al. Versus Brand X Internet Services, the U.S. Supreme Court is faced with a major decision: to classify the internet as a telecommunications service or as an information service. You might be thinking, what's the difference? Well, according to 47 U.S.C. Section 153, a telecommunications service is the offering of telecommunications for a fee directly to the public or to such classes of users as to be effectively available directly to the public, regardless of the facilities used. And an information service is the offering of a capability for generating, acquiring, storing, transforming, processing, retrieving, utilizing, or making available information via telecommunications. It is helpful to think of an information service as a special communication channel with added computational capabilities. Ultimately, the Supreme Court defined the internet as an information service. A key feature of their argument was DNS. The Supreme Court claimed that because DNS alters the information communicated, and because DNS services are offered by the internet service provider or cable companies, and because DNS is a requirement in order to use the internet constitutes an information service. Now, you might be wondering why all this even matters. Well, it turns out that because the internet is only an information service rather than partly a telecommunications service, cable ISPs are now unregulated by the FCC, and so they don't have to allow access and provide support for everyone. Basically, they're free to drop the packets of lower-paying customers on a whim. Beyond the net neutrality dilemma, the doctrine of this case has made deep changes to many other legal areas. It turns out the Brand X doctrine can enable federal agencies to change position on court precedent, sometimes with little notice. This is an important piece of U.S. law. Clearly, DNS is a key part of American law, cyber law, and the technology of the internet.